L- Let's do it is right. Welcome to today's webinar. How can I get investors right now? We're wrapping up 2022, all different types of market conditions this year. We're going to talk about what we've seen with issuers, what to look forward to for 2023, and regardless of the vehicle you're using, how you can digitally market to get investors right now. Excited to have Ashley Inman, content marketer here at DNA, with us. Ashley's first webinar.
Woo! I'm excited.
You can't hear him, Ashley, but they're all giving you an applause
I
while
hope
in the
so.
yes. And this is an exciting topic. We've been in the whiteboard rooms, getting it ready on what we think clients, we think founders want to hear right now. But Ashley, thought we'd start with your background. What do you do here at DNA on the content marketing side? What were you doing before that? What type of knowledge base are you bringing to today's discussions?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the webinar. Super excited to be here and go over this topic with everyone. So I've been with DNA for about a year. Previously I've been doing marketing for 5 years, I've done marketing for production companies, different e-com companies, and then came here at DNA, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm on the content marketing side of things. If you obviously didn't notice when I said marketing 6 different times. So I'm on the content marketing team. I handle the ideas and creations for social posts and portal updates, email blasts, and just trying to make everything fun and exciting and everybody's campaign kind of pop. So that's a little about me.
Absolutely. Those campaigns do pop. Been seeing success here in December and later parts of this year and throughout 2022 as well, too. It's been a tougher year than 2021. Looking at the statistics on King's Crowd, going to give some perspectives towards that and why. As always, we have put together a deck, a presentation. What would this webinar be without it? And this is a so you reach out to us. There we go. If you reach out to us and request a copy, ask and you shall receive. There'll also be a video version of this. You'll be able to see it at a later point. But again, this is the question of the month. Whether we're talking about the holiday season, whether we're talking about events that have happened in 2022. Early this year, it was current events around the war. Later around the stock market, around cryptocurrencies failing far before FTX, but first with Terra, later with Voyager, more conversations around inflation, potential stock market crashes, heavy discussions around that. August, September, we start getting into the FTX, the FTX crash later, and what that's meant for alternative investments, what it's meant for cryptocurrency as a whole, the type of sentiment we see from investor audiences, and overall, from those individuals and groups, regardless of the asset class. Been at real estate shows, or it was the same type of skepticism. We've seen that change quite a bit here in November and December, and can talk to you about what we're seeing work. So, as mentioned, Ashley and I are going through this discussion. Should I be raising capital right now? Ashley, what are your thoughts towards this question? You run into a founder tomorrow, they ask, how do you respond?
Absolutely. You should always be raising capital. There is no reason to not. And I know that a lot of people get a little bit concerned about the timing, and there's, oh, it's summer, oh, it's the holidays, but there's always investors that are going to look to be investing in people's campaigns, that are going to be online looking for more information. You should always be trying to raise capital for your business.
I agree. When I look at the success rate of startups, it's low. Over 90% fail the first year, over 90% fail in the next year, but based on the studies I've always worked off of here and watched firsthand. Many those funds, use it towards operational expenses, use it towards marketing, and of course growth accordingly, is what we see the most successful groups doing. Then when I look towards the how, that's when this question becomes more applicable of how to raise capital right now. What can we be doing to bring on investors? And as part of that discussion, I see these digital marketing tools to be very fruitful. We've been doing it since 2014, first on Reg D accredited investor campaigns, and essentially performing lead generation to bring on high net worth audiences, having founders speak digital serve as follow-up mechanism behind it. We were waiting Reg CF to go live and had campaigns live day one back in May 2016. Started working on Regulation A Plus campaigns later that year. So through each of these different filings, these different vehicles, we've been able to see performance. Even for efforts outside of it, I've seen founders successfully use LinkedIn outreach, do email follow-ups. So should you be raising capital right now? Yes. Again, don't just take our word for it. Look at the analytics, look at the top campaigns on King's Crowd, look at what they're doing here this week. In the first half of December, there are many campaigns that aren't marketing and aren't doing much, but there are many that are, and we'll be raising, $500,000, seven figures just this month here in December 2022. So I have no reason to say no. Have seen conversion rates and sentiments improve over the past couple months. And as Ashley said, always be raising, which we've heard the portals say, don't stop raising. Why is that, Ashley? Why should we not stop raising and continue generating buzz?
So I think a lot of people get concerned, when they see a little bit of just like a steadiness and there's not a ton of investments coming in, and there's ebbs and flows within a campaign. And then when there's kind of the flows, people start to get a little concerned, like, okay, maybe I need to close my campaign, but then you're losing all of that momentum that you just created to build up that campaign. So it's important to keep it going. And, there's always going to be flows, just like there is in business, like there is in equity crowdfunding. So it's important to keep it going and get people excited around it and show people what you are doing as a business and how this is a great investment opportunity for them.
And if you think there's concerns in the market, then that's when you want to show that you're strong. Not to age myself too much, but I started my career around the 2008 crash and learned that you market during these times, show that you're moving, show that you're ready for more market share, that you're present in the vertical. So even more important during those type of situations, if it's during the holidays, we just did our last webinar on the holidays. If you haven't seen it yet, may want to check it out this evening. Get a nice bottle of wine, maybe some food delivered. I recommend it. But essentially, there's more traffic during this time of year than any other time. And this week in between Christmas and New Year's, you find execs, you find high net worth audiences scrolling more, the screen time up during these periods where normally they're, call to call. What we're seeing in many cases, more of those individuals being able to work on things they don't get around to at other points in the year, even while on vacation or, on some downtime. So don't stop the buzz because of the holidays. Certainly don't stop the awareness because of market conditions. You want to look at how to operate in those stages versus if you should. So we live on our phones. People are still investing through the holidays, through down markets. How to leverage content marketing. We're lucky enough to have Ashley and the content marketing staff represented here today. Ashley, how to leverage this in content marketing? Where do you want to start?
How to leverage this in content marketing. So I would say, just expanding off what you're saying is, in content marketing, it's important to market in all aspects of what you're doing, which I know we'll go deeper into each one. But like you already mentioned, it's important to make sure that you're not stopping everything just because it's the holidays. A lot of people have this misconception that there's a huge, disconnect of people being off of their phones. And it's actually the polar opposite. People are constantly on their phones. They're looking and, they're sitting at the airport waiting for their flight, or there's a delayed flight and they're just scrolling and looking on their phone, or, they're disconnecting from their family that they've been with for a week and they're constantly looking. So pushing out those emails and pushing out portal updates, that's important to do.
Absolutely. And I like to take things back to origins. For me, I was first taught that content marketing is the creation of good, engaging content that's designed, it's physically made to stimulate social sharing and high authority links, high authority coverage from publishers, from influencers. Very important when it comes to the crowd. And whether we're talking crowdfunding or whether we're just talking about reaching investors, because they do play off social dynamics. You do see a lot and 10 more the next day, let alone the next week. So content marketing can be extremely powerful here to command that listening and show that validation, to state, hey, this matters. People are talking about it. Something is going on here. And again, to be able to do so to the extent of getting the listener to then play the ambassador role and share with their friends, share with their family, and say, hey, my Southwest flight's canceled. Did you see this investment? Check this out. It's pretty crazy what these guys are doing. Don't worry, we'll be on a flight in a couple hours, but this is pretty cool. Let's take a look at this. You want to be able to get the voice of your audience. That is your most powerful marketing tool. And when we look at content marketing, I like to break it down to email, social media, and long form. It's still the top communication channel based on many studies, and revenue it's up based on email marketing, and it just continues to grow. So while we've had team members say that email is more of a boomer tool and define themselves as Zoomers, I say, hey, email is digital marketing. So if you're talking about doing email outreach to investors, if you're talking about doing email follow-ups, and it is all in the follow-up, don't be mistaken, build out a content calendar, determine what's going to be published when and where on email. Don't just say, how about now every week. Be able to talk about, hey, we're at this conference this week. We were just featured on this podcast. We're doing this webinar next week. Check out this new strategic partnership we put on. Look at our numbers that we're now able to share. Have something new added to the narrative, to the story each week. You will see it reflected in response rates. Is that what you're seeing as well too with email, Ashley? Anything to add for email?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered it in a little bit, but something to add is I have had a lot of people with concern about sending out emails to their larger lists. And I always like to touch on this topic because people have subscribed to receive your emails for a reason. They love your business, they love your product, whatever it is, they've already subscribed for a reason. So sending out these investment style emails is going to get people excited if they're really in love with your product. So I know, for example, there's a company that, if people are really into fashion, it's called Revolve. And this was prior to my time at DNA, did not know a lot about like investing and equity crowdfunding and IPOs, but I got an email that Revolve was coming out with an IPO launch and I was going to be able to have a little piece of Revolve. And I had shopped there for years and I got so excited. And yes, I was bombarded with tons of emails about the IPO launch, but regardless, I was like beyond excited about it. I couldn't wait for it. I wanted to get a little piece of the company. So it's important to make sure you're still sending those emails to those lists of people that might just be purchasers of your product, because you might be able to convert those people into investors too.
Written content on this where the new premium audience for investor marketing is actually the user owner. So being able to target your customers, your clientele, your followers, as Ashley's stating, and be able to bring them in as investors. For Reg CF, for Regulation A+, these investment filings allow for retail for non-accredited investors. So leverage that and be able to build up your email audience, be able to continue to poke them, to reach them with email, and look at email as a distribution tool where you could put valuable content, editorial out there. And as she's mentioning, we get reservations at times from founders of, hey, do I want to be blasting my email list, whether it's my first degree, friends, family, contacts over the past however many decades? Do I want to be going after my customer list? I don't know. You wouldn't believe some of the size of brands that don't want to leverage their audience here. I can give example after example for the full hour, but I'll tell you that there is a way to do it. It's again a matter of how to speak with them and how to build a funnel that's going to interest them, really understanding your target audience. If you have not looked at any of our strategy webinars, again, book out the weekend, find a time to take a look at that. I've written about it in Forbes. It all starts in strategy. There's a system we've built called the 8-point plan. You want to be able to step into the shoes of your target audience. And from there, look at channels that you want to use and hope that you include email. At that point, look at creative and determine, hey, what would Jason, what would Ashley want to read as a target audience? We come up with different fictional persona names. What would Steven, what would Kristen, they're going online. What would they pay attention to in terms of messaging? What would turn them off? And use that mind frame of what should I be putting in each of these email funnels. You can then go beyond it and build out your email audience further. Lead generation campaigns. Process of introducing your brand to specific audiences to gather more prospective investors, grow your email list, provide value, updates, education. You could have a lead magnet, pitch deck, demo sign up, give them something immediately for giving for the exchange of their email address. But the concept is you can market to build this email list. You can then email the audience, and there's a stronger likelihood that they convert and become an investor. And we work with funds. We work with various types of groups in a variety of asset classes, of course, that are constantly looking to build their email audience and have goals for 2025, 2030 of how large that mass of investors is going to be. It's extremely valuable, plays a large role as a utility. And we're working with groups. I can tell you this audience plays a role time and time again in their next rounds. So it's almost a game of how big can you build your follower base of investors. You have to keep them engaged. It has to be content that is interesting. It has to be of value to them. Otherwise, they'll simply unsubscribe. But it's a key indicator. If you talk to a portal, if you talk to one of our sales reps and they say, hey, and you ask, hey, how do you gauge a good deal? You will hear email audience size as part of the answer. And Ashley, have you seen email audiences grow quite a bit in terms of a campaign beginning and a campaign ending, and where they start and how large it is once they get to later stages?
Yeah, I've definitely seen email lists grow tremendously, especially when you're doing the lead gen campaigns to create and build your list. For, equity crowdfunding campaigns, those are people that are excited about your product and excited about the investment opportunity. So those are great people to target. Those are great people to send out really informative emails about what's going on within the business, different investment updates, and all of that type of stuff is really important to send to that list, and building on that and getting people excited. Current webinars that we're on, being able to do these types of webinars for those investors and sending emails out to that list, that's just a huge way to get your brand out there.
Absolutely. And we've seen pre-launch used just for this in terms of email audience growth. It was reward crowdfunding campaigns on Indiegogo and Kickstarter tactic So you'd build up an audience of 10,000 or more subscribers. That way, the day you went live on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, maybe you have 200 of them back the campaign. There are limitations for pre-launch. You can use test the waters for regulation CF and regulation A+. You're going to want to speak with compliance about that, make sure you're doing it right. But at the same time, as your audience grows, you'll see it show up in your results. And should mention, even if you're not doing a crowd fund, building up your prospect list of investors, being able to have a content calendar determining what's going to be distributed where and when on email and other content channels, highly recommended. It's again going to boost your conversion numbers statistically. I like to show these stats of when sales, including the sale of securities, occur, and it's touch point 7 to 12. It's not the first email, the second email, the third email, the fourth email, and under 10% of salespeople follow up 5 times or more. So you have a lack of follow-ups. Meanwhile, the majority of conversions happening at a later stage in the cycle. Another thing in terms of content marketing is portal updates. Ashley, what is a portal update?
So a portal update goes on your portal page, on your specific raise page, and it's just an update that I highly recommend people do at least minimum once a week, if not more. And it just informs people about what's going on within your business. Do you have new hires? How about meet the team? It allows you to kind of break down everything that's on your raise page in a more smaller format. And then if people follow along on your campaign page, they can get those as emails as well. So, people that are interested can go on the portal update, scroll down and kind of see different things that you've posted. But if they're already liking your campaign page, they're getting those emails on a weekly basis as well.
Exactly. And can be a focal point for the campaign. You can use it as the anchor for your long form content. Again, followers get those notifications. So investors want to see you're active during the campaign. That momentum really gets noticed by those audiences. So how to market to investors right now, email, have those portal updates. We see it on self-published offering pages as well too, whether that's Regulation A+, Reg D, whatever it may be. You can still have that for your offering and recommend it. Now, as Ashley was mentioning, you could encourage people to follow your raise here and look for a strong follow to investor ratio. Updates are still shared even after raises are closed. So we have updates post raise and in between raise without naming any names on their portal and on their offering page, and having that added. The portal page often has strong SEO value and shows up at a top section of the results when you type in the brand name into Google or a similar engine. Various portals feature updates or share with their email subscribers as well too. So they'll pick from the portal updates to figure out who to talk about in their weekly email newsletter that week. They have to treat each issuer the same, but if each issuer is allowed to do portal updates and then is picked from there, they're able to build rules around that. And Ashley, any success stories, anything you've seen in terms of portal updates where something was published and you saw a spike in investments to follow?
I would probably say there's been a few webinars that have definitely spiked some interest in investments. I've seen some with partnerships as well, and then features in the press. I think that's an important one that people tend to forget about, is making sure that you're trying to figure out different avenues of getting out there, getting your name out there and making people aware of what your product is. And so trying to get press features is extremely important, and you can get into some great publications, and those are important to showcase. It really gives you some validity to your brand.
If I say that a brand or investment opportunity that I'm a part of it is great, that's cool. If someone else says it, it's even better. It goes beyond that when there are 50 people doing the same. We'll talk about writing a bit more But I could tell you, I publish Forbes Agency Council articles, and I have some with under 1,000 views. I have others with upwards of 40,000 views. And if I look at the differentiator, it's how many people have repurposed it, how many people have linked to it, back to the content marketing definition, and their audience sizes and the traffic that comes along with it. So whether we're talking about a portal update, whether that portal update is about a press feature, it's what you do with that press, not just hoping, even if it's Forbes, that the article itself is going to garner enough traffic. And as mentioned, we've seen it take 7 touch points or more to find conversions. Use emails and portal updates to point at different pieces of content, thought leadership, and social proof. Meaning, if I reach a perfect prospect of an investor based on target audience research we've put together with an advertisement and bring them to an offering page, still not likely they're going to invest, convert. Meanwhile, if I'm somehow able to get them to follow the portal updates and or subscribe to the email newsletters, I'm statistically in a much better place. I'm going to be able to follow up with them across multiple channels, multiple mediums. I'm going to be able to have content featured there, as Ashley mentioned, webinars. Check out where we were featured here. You did a press release and end up in syndication. Look at where we were featured there. Thought leadership. Wow, these founders are at the forefront. Look at what they're doing this week. Look what they're talking about. Look at their ideas. Social proof. This strategic partner of ours said something very, very favorable. It's now being featured on our portal update and or email. This is a better path, a better route to take investors down. And again, for those listeners that are not running a Reg CF, but maybe hopping into an investor meeting later today and tomorrow, even this week before the holidays, this is going to put you in a better path. It's in the follow-up. Make the follow-ups exciting. Don't try to upstage them and do one follow-up and they're missing out if they didn't get back to me, and then look at why your round's not closed in a few weeks or a few months. Have a good digital marketing program. Have the right content distributed across these channels, and you will see a higher response rate, let alone conversion rate from it. Ashley, how do you see the content calendars evolve once we get further and further into the funnel, once we get closer to 7 more?
I think the calendar really starts to evolve when we get to that point. At the very beginning, you're kind of touching on the little bits that are on the raise page and breaking them down into not so long and lengthy content. So like I mentioned before, you're doing like a meet the team or a problem and solution of your business and that type of stuff. As you get longer into your raise, there's more development and more, exciting updates to post and put out. So new product launches are huge ones. I know with 2023 coming up, a lot of clients that I'm working with have the new product launches and pushing those out. And those are all great. They're all important.
Absolutely. Got to go back into present mode. And, looking at some of the top events that we've had in late 2022 for clients, live events has definitely been at the top. So webinars like this, but to investors. So we've had issuers with very large audience or more for a webinar. We've had issuers with virtually no audience and using ads, doing the lead generation, getting an email sign up, but offering this demo, this webinar as part of the value that they're getting for the exchange of their email address. And even hosting smaller webinars that act more as group pitches to investors, and both being fruitful, but both being the type of events where we're able to measure jumps in the campaign, in some cases during the actual webinar, and in others at later stages that week or the week to follow, or being able to match an email address for a sign up to someone who's come into the campaign. at a later point. Thought leadership, absolutely. You can have a guest on. Talking about why they participate in the deal. It can be a key client or industry figurehead and another thought leader in the space, and being able to use the likeness of their brand as well too. Even being able to have them promote and invite their audience to the webinar has been something powerful that we've seen. We moderate a lot of these webinars, and we'll be doing the Q&A with the founders in many cases. So if you're having trouble thinking of guests, there are other ways to do it. You could even have a guest moderator if you're not working with an agency or something like that. But it gets you into their mind share and has them thinking about a date before it comes up, and incorporating you into their schedule. Percentage of them will show up, percentage won't. The ones that won't will be followed up with, and in many cases show up for the next live event. And whether you're doing this on a Zoom webinar, Facebook Live, a YouTube Live, plenty of live platforms to be able to leverage, some that are more B2B, that you can utilize and get notifications out to your audience. It's a good thing. It's something to talk about. As Ashley mentioned, the portal update, the email, all of your other channels, you can talk about this live event. Ashley, what have been some of your favorite live events this year?
Oof. I moderated one for Karma Baker, and I did their webinar, and that was like my favorite one. Maybe because I'm biased and I moderated it. But I really loved just them overall. I think they did a really good job at portraying who they were. They've got great personalities. They came with a lot of information and just excitement overall. And yeah, it was my favorite.
There you go. It's good to be proud of the work you're doing.
Right. And everyone else I like too. So I'm not playing favorites here. Let me just throw that out there.
It's definitely a standout when the moderator likes it. I heard it was one of the top webinars, so I could validate it. Social proof, boom. Webinars give you a platform to speak directly to your audience in an interactive experience. 75% of marketers say webinars extend brand reach. 69% of marketers say webinars help scale their marketing efforts. 76% say that webinars help them reach more leads. So again, lead generation, lead nurturing, the social sharing, extending the reach, and just quality in-depth content where, similar to a podcast, you're able to reach more depth, more openness, hear a speaker outside of their normal planned, hey, here's my 3-minute segment. The same's true with the webinar. And what we're really looking to do is create an experience that is similar to what an individual may receive if they sat down at an investor pitch with you. So instead of doing lunch with 1,000 prospects, maybe you're doing 3 webinars over the course of 3 months, getting decent attendee lists for each, and allowing the perspectives, narratives that you project on your company, your product, your team, compliantly about the direction that your organization's going and that your industry is growing in. And that perspective, that narrative tends to transfer to the audience to some level, to some degree. So it's different than reading an article. It's different than seeing a 60-second, which is an eternity in digital, video segment on social or in an email or something like that. If you're able to get a captive audience on a webinar, much greater chance in my eyes that you're going to be able to bring them in as an investor. What are some other webinar tips, Ashley?
Webinar tips. Number 1, do them. I think I get sometimes a lot of pushback from people that don't want to do them because they're just, concerned and nervous, and they don't want to be on like a live event with these questions. And there's that concern of what are the questions I'm going to be receiving and all of that type of stuff. I think it's important to just do it. It showcases that you're confident in yourself as a business owner, you're confident about your investment opportunity, and it gives people the ability to ask those questions. Having that Q&A section is a huge one at the end, making sure obviously everything's compliant that you're asking, but allowing people the opportunity to not have to sit there and wait for an email response, being able to do that live. And maybe they have 6-10 questions that they want to ask you. That's a lot to send out in an email. Maybe they're like, forget it. But if they can go on a live webinar, that's great. So doing that, coming prepared with some type of deck, a pitch deck for the first initial webinars. I always recommend to do a Q&A overall presentation with a pitch deck of what it is that your investment opportunity is about. And then after the fact, doing other webinars from there, still making sure you have some type of deck to showcase some videos of what your product is or your business is. Those get people really excited and really showcases what you are. And then doing demos, making sure that your background audio and everything is good. There's been a couple times we've had people that have done webinars and, the audio is not great or the background's a little funky, you can't even really see them. So making sure you're just really prepared and getting people excited.
Well said. Well said. And before, during, after, leading up to the webinar, during the webinar, after webinar, don't forget to repurpose the live content. You can create ads with it, social media posts with highlights from the last webinar, certainly have email newsletters pointing at the past recorded webinars, have it as a portal update. That there's so much you can do with this in-depth video. So well said, Ashley, being able to have all of that prepared for the breakdowns, of course, as well, too. So if someone's Wi-Fi is a bit choppy, if a deck's not showcasing, if audio's off, lighting, show up early, have your headspace and audio and everything dialed. We talked about inviting guests to promote their audience and provide validation, lead investors, strategic partners, industry leaders. Are we forgetting anybody? Is there anyone else that could be on as a guest?
Anyone. I mean, you can have anyone you want. You could have Mickey Mouse if you wanted.
That would be high profile right there.
It would, right? Social proof.
Mickey Mouse probably has a large social following.
I would assume so.
And, we're not going to go too far into podcasts here, but we've seen other types of video recordings. So love the live events. I've seen this done at conferences, on location, sometimes a nice backdrop. Maybe they're on a boat at the beach, something like that. There are ways to do this in a visually exciting way. But there are also recorded versions, recorded webinars that could show up for email signups, recorded podcasts. Podcasts are a great tool that I had to mention as we're talking guests, because it is a tip of the hat saying, hey, these guys are doing great stuff. To be able to invite someone and host them on your podcast. We have seen founders say, hey, we're going to keep raising. And after this first round, we're going to do more. We would like this platform, not only to do webinars each month, but let's do bi-weekly, weekly podcast recordings or some other type of video talk. We could host it on our YouTube channel, could do audio channels as well. But for video, we're big video fans. You can invite strategic partners. You can invite a lead investor who hasn't even participated yet. I've seen it done. You can invite industry leaders to there, and with the goal of getting them to promote to their audience and receiving that social proof along the way. What do we have going on in this meme here?
Looks a little scared.
They're definitely disturbed that the audience has not registered yet. And I like how they're saying, what are you waiting for? Tactics to capture more registrants, retargeting ads. On the follow-up, advertising is all about the retargeting and how big your retargeting pool is. Utilize your email list, selfie video, inviting the audience, LinkedIn events. If you have a blank image saying, hey, get to this webinar, or if you have a founder actively talking and saying, hey, show up.
Jason, I think we can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear
There
me?
we go. We're back.
Okay.
Back in
All right.
action.
Back in action, and be able to roll with the punches if you're doing any of these live events and something like that happens. So, how can you harness the power of outreach? Talked about some self-publishing channels, email, portal, long form content. You want to reach more people now. Maybe you're doing a Reg CF, maybe you're doing a Reg D to accredit investors. Maybe you're just trying to reach investors and build relationships as a whole. How can you harness the power?
You froze a bit, Jason. Did you ask me?
Yeah, I was asking how you could harness the power of outreach.
Well, I'll take it away now. So yeah, reaching out and doing things. I think LinkedIn is a huge one to be harnessing your power of outreach and trying to do messaging that reaches investors. Outreach is kind of like a free ad in a sense. It's targeting specific people in their individual inbox and sending them messages and getting them excited and saying, hey, do you want to jump on a call? Do you want to learn more about this opportunity? And then, as we've talked many times about the 7 to 17 touch points, it's giving some touch points to these potential investors, sending them these messages on a regular basis. And then of course, if you keep sending them, there's going to be some interest. Okay, what is this all about? This person keeps sending me these messages and now I'm kind of interested. And then all of a sudden you're on a call, you're having a conversation, and it becomes something more.
Exactly. I think LinkedIn is an underrated tool, and it allows you to send 25 invitations per day per profile. We've got some software built for us where we can get upwards of 100, even 150 profile invitations per day. There are different ways that have been pointed out to us that you could join a group and reach out to people in the group at higher volumes as too. Don't want to spam here, but at the same time, I'm always amazed by how many people have an investor job title on LinkedIn, even industry specific. So really see the need for every founder, really every professional, to have this type of outreach going, where you can be seeing a 20% acceptance rate or higher from these invitations. So even with LinkedIn's 25 cap, you can get 5 new contacts a day. If you have messages going out with that first invitation or upon acceptance, and then look for a 20% or higher response rate from these messages, you could be getting a new conversation a day, 5 new investor conversations a week on a 5-day business week, 20 a month. To have 20 different investor conversations going on is a good thing. Could even have a scheduling link in there so that they can just be booking on your calendar. You're hopping on the line with them. Can do that at higher increments. Again, if we're doing 100 and getting 20 new contacts, getting 4 new conversations a day, it definitely adds up. And we see it translate to a higher conversion rate in many cases, as well as a higher transactional value, larger check size by building that trust. So take advantage of different softwares out there. There are others that will search out email addresses and then upload the pages with email addresses and then go after those so that you can get to higher volumes and can have there's a whole algorithm set up around it. Consistently following up is what I want to really point at, and optimize your targeting. Continue to change up your targeting, your audiences. This is towards investors. You can do it towards administrators, organizers of groups of investors, accelerators, lawyers who work with different investors, angel groups, what have you. There's a lot of different things to set up here. You can search by people who've engaged on LinkedIn in the past 30 days, depending on the tools that you're using. There's a lot of ways to do this right, a lot of ways to see marginal results, but there's always a stronger way to do it. I've also used it for outreach to publishers, event organizers, a lot of different ways to have this set up. Anything else on the outreach side, Ashley, that you're seeing work in terms of publisher outreach or getting other third parties to talk about the investment opportunity?
I think the having a link to be able to book is definitely an underrated one, like you touched on, and important for people to have. I always recommend people sign up and do a Calendly link and have that. So you're not doing so much back and forth of, okay, what time works for you? And then you're allowing people to hop on your schedule, book a call with you and jump on. It makes it really convenient. So I highly encourage people to do that.
Awesome. Why can't you have enough social proof?
You just can't. You just can't have enough social proof. You can get people going, from your email to your social media, to your website, to a lot of different directions. It's important to have that social proof. You can never have enough.
That is a fact. And the largest celebrities, influencers, founders would tell you the same, and that there's not a permanence to it. So it's all about, what was your last home run? What did you do last week, today, last month, last year? There's too large of a gap there. What is your relevance? So being able to have publishers, influencers, podcasts, financial email newsletters, conferences, clients, investors, strategic partners speak positively about you, or even associate their names with you, logos. That's why so many landing pages and offering pages have, as seen on sections and testimonials. People do not believe what they see on the internet. Investment opportunities, maybe if it's attached to the right social proof. But the idea is, regardless of the introducing party, regardless of the traffic source that they are coming from, you want to continue to point at social proof. You want to be able to continue to point at that third party validation. I've used a lot of analogies on these webinars where, you have the empty restaurant and the place with the line around the block, and you don't even know what they serve. You want to go there at least at some point, or the pool party with no one in the pool, or the pool half full, and what that question feels like when you say, hey, change down your swimsuit and hop in. So social dynamics at play with investments, as I said, certainly with digital marketing as a whole. And again, you if each day, each week, you're pointing at someone else who's pointing at you, linking to you, getting their audience to look at the great things that you're doing. Ashley, what do we have going on in this meme?
Oof. Your business with social proof, your competitor and your consumers, they're looking at you. They are looking at you.
Exactly. And I see this happen at the brand level. We do competitor marketing audits. It's one of the two top important sections of a marketing strategy, in my opinion. And if you're able to show your business's social proof, hey, here are our numbers. Consumers, and in this case, the consumers of these investment opportunities, these securities are looking at that, and your competitors may be watching that and have mixed emotions, to say the least. So I really like this breakdown. Third party validation is the best asset you can add to your campaign. You can add to the crowd. Social proof can include press features, investor and customer testimonials, shared by industry leaders, etc. If I see a campaign that's underperforming, I look at the audience size, as I was mentioning with the email list earlier. I then look at social proof, even before talking about the product or the industry. Again, I may not know what a restaurant's serving, but if they have a line around the block, I am interested in going there. So same concept, can't have enough of this. There's ways you could manufacture it, ask for it, put time into your calendar each week to seek out more of it. The more, the better. What difference does it make, Ashley, if you're able to incorporate social proof into some of the social media posts, email content that you're creating on a campaign?
I think it's huge, especially from me, like on a personal level too. I think proof is huge. Like I am always looking at testimonials. I think for me, that's my like biggest one. I'm like always reading reviews and seeing what people think and like, okay, how is this restaurant? How is this product that I'm looking into, or this shirt that I want to buy, or whatever that might be. So I think it's extremely important to have that social proof. And like you've mentioned, the more that there is, the better. TikTok right now is like huge on people were doing like tons of different reviews. And I've noticed like, okay, now I've got all these different reviews I'm seeing on TikTok, and now I like need to buy it. I have like this huge desire. So I think another one that's kind of plays tie into this is getting like a big influencer to give you some social proof too, because then it gets people really excited and they're like, whoa, this person's using this, or they're excited about it, or whatever. So now all of a sudden you're really doing some research into it. It's important.
Absolutely. And whether you're talking about that influencer's audience or even just your own and who you're pointing at when speaking to investors. If I look at my favorite products, travel destinations, I've already mentioned restaurants, music, movies, whatever it may be, there's often a recommendation that took place at some point. Or and that those could have been in person or digitally, something I saw in an advertisement on a landing page, the number one blank, and then some logos of brands that I follow, some faces of people that I know attached. If I'm looking at an event that I want to attend, who are the speakers? Do I know them? Who are the brands there? What is telling me this is going to be a good conference to invest my time into? And again, certainly true with investment opportunities. Hey, you should really take a look at blank. Afraid to even say the word token these days, but take a look at this token. Take a look at this exchange. Take a look at this on Robinhood. Take a look at this deck. Private sale right now. What do you think? The third party validation is consistent here. As marketers, you want to have that in place. If I talk to an issuer this afternoon and they say, hey, I have a campaign live on WeFunder, it's not doing anything. And I look at their campaign, there's under $50,000 raised. It talks about their product, and that's it. I'm going to say, hey, how large is your audience? Have you been marketing to them? Are you doing all of these content channels? Does your content feature third any of that? You're on your brand short that exists. And if it doesn't, let's create it. Let's reach out to some people in your industry. Let's reach out to some investors that have got involved. Let's reach out to different customers. Let's get a press release going. Show some different people who pick it up. Let's get you on some podcasts. Let's do things to show that you're not the only one that thinks your brand and your investment is a good idea. And nurturing your audience is what it's all about. It's the 7 touch points or more. Ashley and her team create content calendars, month 2, month 3, get more exciting than the first month. You have the introductions, and then you continue to feed the audience. You continue to get them excited and have them. Tips towards how we continue to get the audience to be interested in the deal, and then use that interest to evolve it to the point of acting.
It's important to give people, one of the things that's coming top of mind right now as far as like nurturing your audience is I've got a client I'm working with and they're like almost at $1 million raised. And so we've done a help us get to $1 million. And that's kind of like you're nurturing your audience in the sense of you're kind of keeping them in and getting them excited about the opportunity, but you're showing them like, hey, there's been a lot of progression here and we're almost at $1 million, come on in, get in while you still can, be part of this amazing opportunity. So it's exciting.
Transfer that energy. I've always looked at sales as a transfer of energy, including the sales of securities here, which is investor acquisition, and it is what we set up this marketing to do. Make sure everything's compliant, but find ways to get that audience excited. Stay consistent. You've worked hard to get your leads. Do not let them go to waste. Respond to them quickly. Get them, even if it's automated, some content fast, and don't let up. Should I market during the holidays? Market in October, November? Yes, you need to stay consistent. Should I market in month 2, month 4? Should I go back to the drawing board? Should I pause everything? Stay consistent, as Ashley was saying, and just in general, you want to give your brand the best shot towards success that it can at its fundraising round. If it's equity crowdfunding, you've put a lot of work into the filing, working with the right groups on the finance and legal side, probably working with the portal or broker dealers to publish the offering. Don't fall short on marketing. Don't, just put a toe in the water. Make sure you have a whole plan to be able to hit your full goal. Otherwise, you could be selling your brand short. You could be cutting the raise off before it hits performance. I've worked on campaigns that have seen little to no performance 3 weeks in, and by week 6, we're surpassing every performance goal. Don't stop early. And that is our presentation. Can now open it up for questions. If you have anything that you want to have us answered here directly, and can speak to it in detail here. So just pulling up the chat. I know we had a few questions that I didn't get to quite yet here. So Ashley, how do you measure the success of content marketing is something I'm seeing from the crowd.
So I really look at a lot of different aspects depending on the actual channel. I think there's a lot of different ways to measure success. Clearly, one of the biggest ones we've touched on, one of the ones I think is most important, is email. And you can see the email open rate and how frequently that's being opened, and really get a good idea of what content is resonating with people and what you need to kind of keep going with. So I think it's important to look at all these different metrics, make sure that you're utilizing them to your benefit. Another one too that I get a lot of questions on is social media. It's important to have, everything stay consistent and streamlined and still posting on social media. I get a lot of people that say, I've only got 300 followers. Well, make sure you're trying to, one, post on there. So even if it's just the 300 followers or a couple new ones, you're still, coming on and having something for them to look at, but also trying to build up that audience as well is extremely important.
Absolutely. And investors do their due diligence. Even if you only have those 300 followers, make sure they're seeing activity in terms of what you're publishing and about the investment opportunity and about your traction while they're doing that research. It says something if your last post is outdated or speaks nothing about the investment opportunity. If it doesn't, wanted to start with that question, as a lot of the performance inquiries we get answered with advertising, and we can get asked at times by founders, hey, should we invest monetary assets into content marketing? Are we going to see performance from it? So everything Ashley said, I echo, and it's statistically going to make ads perform, outreach perform at a higher level as a result too. This is great. How long does it take to get Actually, what do you see in terms of sales cycles of these campaigns, and just overall, what timeline should issuers allot?
You kind of broke up there for a second. Would you mind saying it one more time? What was the timeline?
Recommended timeline
for running a campaign. I definitely would say 3 months minimum to run it. I think you really shouldn't put a timeline on running your campaign, though. I think the more traction, the better. Like we touched on at the very beginning, you're going to have ebbs and flows, and don't just close it because you're not seeing any investments. Get people more excited. Make sure that you're not just closing things down and kind of washing it all away. It takes a lot of effort to put these campaigns up. It takes a lot of effort to do all of this filing, push through and keep on going. And, we've seen campaigns that have kind of started out a little bit slow and now they're at the million mark or over. So keep it going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is our time today. Thank you, everyone, for showing up to this webinar. Ashley, thank you. Really enjoyed our discussion and the points to the audience here. Definitely recommend getting in touch with Ashley on LinkedIn, reaching out to us on our site, whatever works best for you. Ashley and the team are a wealth of information on investor marketing and the content side of it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you. If you are watching this in 2022, if you're watching this live at the moment, Happy New Year and looking forward to a big 2023 for the industry. Take care.